Hello everyone, welcome to the room 2. So, last time we saw some things and went through a door. And now we're gonna do other things. This one, if you haven't noticed, is going to be quite a long video. And I'm still doing the voiceover thing. Literally the rest of these episodes are going to be that where I've already played this game and I've already recorded all of this and now I'm doing voiceovers for the whole thing. I like this room. I like the green and the lights and everything. We're still gonna go through some of my favorite things. These are a few of my favorite things. I can't sing. Anyways, definitely when I was recording this, I was having brain issues. And, I already suck at this game and figuring out what to do next. But I sucked even more during this playthrough, and you'll see my mouse sometimes shake, and that's me getting frustrated. It's great. Anyways, so today we're going to be talking about my favorite TV shows. Oh, that's right, our lens broke. We're going to be talking about my favorite TV shows. And this is not particularly of all time. This is subject to change. But this is kind of them at the moment, and also, last year, because this is when I wrote this. I wrote it last year. But whatever. Lucifer, to start with. So, freaking love Lucifer. Love the whole thing. It is the show where the devil is helping the police solve crimes. And there's a bit of romance happening in there. There's angels, obviously. There's demons. It's really good. The first season is really, really good. After the first season, I think it starts getting a little cheesy and a little campy. But I still love it. I absolutely love it. I think it actually finished its last season, and I still haven't finished watching it. I need to rewatch the entire series, though, because I've seen, the first 3 seasons multiple times. But I do not remember what happened in the last couple seasons, or few. I don't remember how many seasons there are, 5, 6, something like that. But I definitely haven't seen any of the last season. I do not remember the season before last, and I don't really remember a lot about a lot of things. So I need to rewatch the entire series, which is going to take a while. But I do still highly recommend this one. It's really funny. I think his name is Tom Ellis. That's the guy that plays Lucifer. Tom Ellis plays him so well. He just does a very, very good job of playing the devil. It's great. But yeah, I mean, the crime cases are really nice. They're really cool. They're very interesting, a lot of them. The character development is fantastic. I like most of the characters. I like how the plot develops and how the relationships between the characters get entwined, and I don't know, it's really, really good. Everyone has flaws. It's fantastic. I love this show. It makes me feel the feels, okay? It makes me feel all the feels. And the romance, I mean, they kind of tease at it for the first season or 2, and then stuff starts actually kind of happening, and it's kind of crazy because I didn't really expect it to go there, and once they're together, it felt kind of wrong, but right at the same time. It was the whole, I knew this was going to happen and I want it to happen, but it doesn't feel right that it's happening right now, sort of a thing. Also, you can pause this if you don't want to read it while I'm talking. Sorry about that. But yeah, so Lucifer, highly recommend it. I think it's a great show. Gilmore Girls, which potentially could be slightly problematic for some people if you've seen the show. I feel bits and pieces of it did not age well. Just like Friends. Friends has a few moments in it where, they say things or they do things or they behave a certain way that just doesn't... It's not nearly as funny now as it was back in the 90s, or the early 2000s. Because it was a very different time, and, certain things were more acceptable. Didn't mean that it was ever right, but it was certainly more acceptable, and because of that, it was, funny, quote-unquotes. Gilmore Girls is one of those things. Every now and then they'll make, a joke, and it's just, back then I maybe didn't see what was wrong with it in particular, because I was young and dumb, and, now I'm that joke didn't age well. So, It's a little problematic with some things, but Gilmore Girls has always been one of my comfort shows. I grew up with it. It was during the time, where like TiVo wasn't really a thing, or it was like just becoming a thing. You couldn't really record TV shows without using VHS yet, or you had to get like the special TiVo box. Otherwise, you had to catch them on like Fridays when they aired at like 8 o'clock or whatever. You had to sit through all the commercials, and if you missed it, you had to wait a week for the rerun before the new episode. And so it's a very nostalgic time for me also, because I can remember the room that I would sit in and watch it. The rooms, I should say, but typically it was at my dad's house, where we would watch it. And I don't know, man, it's got a lot of nostalgia for me. I really dug the what is it called? My brain is saying remake, but it's not the remake. It's like the revamp, the continuation. What is the word? I freaking forget it. But anyways, yeah, I just really like it. It's still one of my favorite shows, and part of the reason why it's one of my favorite shows is because the characters are flawed. They're so flawed. Every character has so many flaws. None of them are like bad people necessarily, but none of them are good people either. They're all just people. And like fiction is a great way to escape like the everydayness of every day. But I don't know, there's something about fiction where I like when there's certain things that are rooted in reality, like how no character is perfect. Like, Jess is probably the most perfect character in the entire series, but even he was like a little asshole in the beginning, and then you get to see him grow. You get to see his character arc, and like, so good. And in Seasons, the redo or whatever, the redux, but it's not really a redo or a revamping, it's just a continuation years later. I have so many questions. I want there to be a second one so much because I have so many questions, and I know a lot of fans have a lot of questions. Like, will Rory ever get her life together? Because we know that she's always been a mess. Like, they always played it like maybe she was like the good little teenage girl, but she fucked up a lot in her teenage years, and she didn't really learn her lessons. And so that's kind of coming back in adulthood to bite her in the ass. So will she ever get her life together? Like, who is the baby's dad? Is she going to be like her mom and just be a single mom and maybe possibly never tell the father like that he's got a kid? Does she even know who the dad is? You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So like, and like, will she and Jess ever end up together? Because like, even though I don't particularly like Rory because she makes a ton of like really bad mistakes, and she's kind of not a character that I would actually want to be friends with, which is funny because when I was younger I was like, I would totally want to be just like Rory, and like as an adult I see so many of her mistakes and I'm like, nope, don't want to be like Rory at all. Parts of her I think are good, but there's a lot of parts of her that just totally suck. So even though I feel like she doesn't deserve Jess because Jess is such a good guy now, and I feel like Jess doesn't deserve to have a girl like her, like romantically, you can just tell that Jess fucking loves her and like respects her and appreciates her. I kind of get why, but I also don't entirely get why. Like you can just tell that he digs her still, and like he's totally cool with just being friends, but he also totally still has feelings for her. You can tell. So like, I want them to be together because I want him to be happy. And like, if she's gonna make him happy, then, put them together. But yeah, Gilmore Girls is like one of my comfort shows. It's really funny in a lot of ways. It's definitely got like that small town charm kind of thing going on. It can get a little annoying with the fighting in the family, but like, other than that, it's totally fine. And also, some of the fights seem pretty legit, and like Emily's character grows throughout the series too. It's really sad that Richard's no longer there, but like every character has some kind of growth, even if they can still be kind of garbagey human beings. But whatever. That's where I like it though. It's a little more of a realistic in that sense. Although I do like Emily's ending. It's really great. Great British Baking Show. So this one is another like comfort show. I usually go to this show like rewatching it when I'm having panic attacks or anxiety attacks because it keeps my mind from reeling. It gives me something to kind of focus on, and it's not something that's like not fun, I guess. I don't know how to describe it, but like it gives me something like nice and cute and wholesome to like focus on that is like happier and like homey and I don't know, it's just got the good feel, got the good vibes. Everyone's really nice to each other, even if they don't want to share ingredients and they might be like, oh, whatever. Like it's not like the mean shows like the Gordon Ramsay shows, even though I love Gordon Ramsay, but like the Gordon Ramsay shows, people are a little too competitive and they're a little too mean and selfish with like hoarding their ingredients and stuff like that, whereas in Great British Baking Show, every contestant really wants every other contestant to succeed because they're like, I want to be the best, and the only way that I can actually be the best is if everyone has a fair shot. So if someone is struggling with something, or if they are missing something because they forgot it or whatever, I will gladly help if I can. You know what I mean? And so like I really like that because there's a sense of cooperation and teamwork, and just like mutual respect that you don't really see in too many other competition baking cooking shows. So personally speaking, I really like that, and it gives me a lot of comfort to see that. I dig it. Next is The Witcher. Ooh, a pirate ship. So sorry, had a yawn. So, The Witcher. I remember working at a particular place when this show came out, and everyone was singing "Toss a Coin to Your Witcher," and like everyone that I worked with, and I was so confused. Kind of, I mean, like I knew that it was from The Witcher, but I was so confused as to like why everyone loved The Witcher, because I had never played any of the games. I wasn't very interested in the show. I'm not that into like high fantasy kind of stories, because they tend to be a little too overwhelming for me. I tried to read The Colada Stone once, and The Colada Stone was really good. I say that's a series. It's a book series. The guy is from New Zealand, I think. The author, I can't remember his name, but The Colada Stone. Check it out if you want. It's very well written. There's just a lot. There's a lot in it. That book also was like $70 because at the time that I got it, with the shipping and everything from New Zealand, like, whew, tons of money. I totally support the author though. Like, he actually has really great writing. The story that I had read so far was really, really good. It was just like, I had read like 150 pages and it felt like things were barely just starting for me. I don't think that it was too slowly paced. I think there was just a lot of information that they were giving in there, and like I understood everything and I got what was happening, and I felt like there were still moments that were like, oh wow, like stuff's happening, you know, but it was just a little too much for my tiny little brain to handle. And that's kind of been my experience with like really heavy high fantasy kind of stories, is when there's a completely new, completely different world that needs a lot of explanation because there's just so many new elements that are so unlike our world. That's where I struggle a lot, because there's the less familiar I am with the things that are in the novel, the less I'm going to have fun learning about them. Not because I don't enjoy learning about it, but like I would much prefer that there's a book and then there's like a reference book with it, so that I can look things up and be like, what like they just said this thing, let me look it up, like a little dictionary for it, and then they can explain like the history of it and blah 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 blah. And I know that there's some books that have like footnotes in there for that. I don't like footnotes. Footnotes really suck. I would so much prefer like a companion book with something, so that the book doesn't have to suffer with the way that the story is being told, but you can still go look things up. And I think I kind of prefer that, because when I was learning how to read, that was what I did, is I would read something and I would see a word that I didn't understand and I'd look it up, and then I would reread that sentence with the new definition in my head, and I knew what that sentence meant now, and I was like, alright, cool, that's rad. So, like, I would prefer that. However, this is all a big tangent to say that I was not interested in The Witcher because it seemed like another, like, high fantasy thing. And I'd never played the game, so I was, like, not really interested. Everyone at my workplace was like, you need to play the games and you need to watch the show. And you can do it in either order, but if you are first getting into it, you might just want to start with the show. Because the show is pretty good, but, like, the game is better. For a lot of people, they were like, the game is better, but the game is also a lot, and it takes a lot of time. So you might want to start with the show. And I was like, alright, cool, I'll do that. I watched the show. I was not expecting to like it. I freaking loved it. I absolutely loved it. I do not feel like they did fantasy in a way that was overwhelming. I feel like they gave you just enough information that you understood what was happening in every single episode, and that knowledge would just build on top of each other with each new episode. Like, they did it in a really smart way, and it was funny. And also, the dude that plays Geralt is freaking handsome. Like, I do not like him as Superman, but I also I fucking hate Superman, okay? Don't hate me for that, but Superman sucks. In my opinion. If you don't agree, that's totally fine. I know a lot of people like Superman. I don't really like superheroes in general, but Superman and Batman are like my least favorite. That might be controversial, but whatever. I don't like them. And so the guy, I can't remember his name right now, but the actor that plays him, I was like, oh, and it's got that guy that plays Superman in it. Ugh. Like, I remember being so turned off by that. But when I actually saw him as Geralt, I was like, oh my god. Whoa. He's very attractive. So, yes, there is that too. I like The Witcher because of that also. But, like, I don't know, man. The Witcher's just, it's got something about it that's really, really good. It's really funny. I'm so excited for season 3. Ooh. Ooh. But yeah, I watched both seasons. I watched all of, like, the little behind the scenes or little side thingies where they talk about the monsters and the magic and all that other stuff, like, that's on Netflix. I watched all of that. During Christmas, me and my boyfriend used the little fireplace with the Witcher music instead of, like, a Christmas fireplace for opening presents. We did that. So, like, we dig The Witcher. The Witcher is fantastic. I was not expecting to love it, and I love it. I love that series. I want more. So yeah, that's one of my favorites now. Insatiable, which I didn't finish season 2, which makes me kind of sad, but I also didn't finish it because in the middle of watching it, I think I learned that, like, it got canceled, which is really sad because I feel like it's one of those shows that's, like, a little ahead of its time in a way. I feel like it's a very unique show, and, like, I can see how it can be problematic in certain ways. Like, there was a big scandal about the fact that the actor was wearing a fat suit, but it wasn't her wearing a fat suit to make fun of fat people. It was her wearing a fat suit because that was the healthiest way to get her to gain the weight that was needed to tell the story that they were trying to tell. And it was literally for, like, an episode, and she wears it, I think, a couple of times in, like, flashbacks. But it's this girl who struggles so much with her mentality. She's fucking batshit crazy. But she struggles with her mentality. She struggles with an eating disorder. Like, she was a big girl who then got into an accident, had her jaw, like, wired shut for a while. And because of that, she lost all this weight and then got, like, skinny. And then she got really popular because she lost weight. And so there's a lot of, like, social criticism that's in there that's also told through humor, but, like, people were really stuck on the fact that she wore a fat suit in the very beginning, the very first episode. But, like, as someone who was kind of heavier, I didn't see any issue with it because it was it was part of telling the story. It wasn't part of the joke. It wasn't part of making fun of fat people or anything like that. It was literally just, we need her to look a certain way to tell the story because this is integral to her character, and what happens in the story is that she starts off this way. And it's like, you want to show don't tell with a lot of things, and so she could either have gained a bunch of weight and then lost all of that weight again, which is really, really unhealthy, or she could have worn makeup and a suit to portray that. So I can see why it got a lot of criticism for that, but like, I didn't personally see anything wrong with that. Because again, the intention was not to make fun of that body type. That was not the intention. It was just to tell a story. Point is, this is a really funny show. It's very much like a dark comedy kind of a show. There's murder that happens in it at some point. It's really funny. It has LGBTQ plus representation in it. Like I said, it deals with mental illness. Like, it deals with all of this stuff, and a lot of it through the scope of humor. Although a lot of it is also very serious, it just has a very humorous tone to it with a lot of things, but also very dark. It's a black comedy for sure, a dark comedy. But it also deals with like very heavy, very important issues. And so I really like the show because it does, like I said, there's a lot of like social criticism and commentary that they have. And so I think it's a shame that the show got canceled, because I think it does a lot. It's just a lot of people, I think, didn't appreciate the way that it was done or understand what was happening. So it got canceled, but Insatiable is really great. I really like it. Daybreak, I'm pretty sure Daybreak got canceled too. So I said in one of the last 2 videos ago, I think, that I'm not the biggest fan of zombies. I don't really like zombie stories. They're like, being eaten alive is one of my worst fears. So like, zombies really freak me out, but Daybreak looked funny. Like, if there's humor in there, I'm more likely to watch it. I'm just gonna say that. Daybreak is a really funny zombie TV show where, like, all of the adults in the world, except for, like, one, I think, something like that, but all of the adults in the world get turned into zombies somehow. And I don't remember the details exactly, but, like, somehow they all turn into zombies, and they're going around, like, saying the last thing that they were thinking or the last thing that they were saying. So, like, some of them are thinking about Prada at the moment of changing, and so they're going around going, like, Prada, instead of, like, brains, you know. And I don't know, I just think it's kind of funny. There's, like, a lot of shenanigans that happened. The teens have created, like, factions, and so there's, like, kind of governments, little mini teenage governments happening everywhere, and, like, based on cliques. And so, like, I think there's a lot of commentary there too. And there's the dude, and he breaks the fourth wall all the time, and, like, I don't know, it's just really funny. It's a really funny, really interesting zombie show. It's a really interesting take on zombies, and it's a shame that this one got canceled too, because I thought it was really great. But apparently it wasn't good enough for most people, so very sad. Squid Game, I think I might have talked about Squid Game in another video, like a while ago. I don't know which one, I'm going to be honest with you, but I talk about K-dramas in a video at some point, right? Did I already record it? Yeah, I did. I talk about K-dramas at some point, and I feel like I put Squid Game in there, so I might not talk too much about Squid Game, but if you haven't seen Squid Game, please go watch it. It's really great. This one also has a lot of, like, social commentary, particularly on the wealthy versus the poor, and, like, I don't know, the way that society views and handles wealth, and wealthy people versus not wealthy people. And, like, it's not just an issue that happens in Korea, it happens in many different places. Also the US, which is where I am. So, like, I don't know, Squid Game was really, really good. It was also, it has that horror element to it, because it is a horrifying situation that these people are put in. Like, it's absolutely terrifying. It also shocked me because, like, I had never seen a K-drama that, and this is not like your typical K-drama, because it's got some gore in it, which also was very, at the time, I was like, K-dramas don't usually show the gore for the most part. Like, they might show a little tiny bit of blood, but they have to blur knives in their K-dramas. Keep in mind, this is a Netflix K-drama, so I was like, they might be a little more lenient with a lot of this stuff, because they definitely didn't blur the knives in this one. And they didn't blur the gore either. Like, it's not super gory, but there's definitely more gore than any other K-drama that I've seen. And also there's sex in it, which really surprised me, because I'm like, whoa, K-dramas, like, allude to sex a lot, and they might even have scenes that are slightly steamy, but there's never actually sex scenes in K-dramas. And so for me, I was like, oh, scandalous, oh my god, the scandal. It was really great. But yeah, Squid Game is fantastic. I'm waiting for season 2, and also Gong Yoo is in this very briefly, and I said previously that I absolutely love Gong Yoo. So good. I was so surprised to see him there. Like, I remember like hitting my boyfriend because I was so excited. I was like, oh, like, you know how you do that thing where you gasp and you just kind of like do a quick slappy on someone or something? I did that. It was great. So yeah, I was very excited to see him in it. I'm actually really glad though that he wasn't like a main character, because I didn't want him to be like a super evil dude, and I didn't want him to die. So I'm glad he wasn't a main character in it. I wouldn't mind seeing him in season 2 though. Magic for Humans. Magic for Humans is another, like, feel-good one where I really like watching, like, I just like to watch it over and over again. I was gonna say I really like watching reruns, but I should say I really like re-watching it. It's just fun. They're, like, the episodes are fairly short. They're really funny. It's magic. I love magic. I kind of wish that I had the skills that magicians had, because, like, I don't know how magic happens, and even when you learn what is happening, because I watch Chris Ramsey too. Chris Ramsey does magic, he does card tricks, he does puzzle boxes on YouTube. And, like, he's really cool, and he's very skilled. And, like, he's shown some, like, card tricks, like, this is how you do this magic card trick sort of a thing. And, like, I think it's great, but at the same time, I'm like, I think even with a ton of practice, I would still not be able to do what you are doing. I think that takes not only practice, but a lot of skill. Like, I feel like you have to be very dexterous with your hands to be a magician, and I am just not. You also have to be a little bit manipulatory, because you have to be able to manipulate your audience to look at certain things and focus on certain things while you do sleight of hand elsewhere, you know what I mean? So, like, some of the magic tricks are really funny. Some of them are kind of like, that's, whatever. And some of them are like, whoa, how did he do that? That's crazy. How did he do that? Like, it's a really fun show to watch. So if you haven't seen Magic for Humans, it's really funny. It's really fun. It's just great all around. Murderville. This one is pretty recent. I actually added this one recently, because I watched Murderville before I moved into this new house, so it's probably been like a month now, I want to say. Almost. Yeah, it's been about a month. Just about, almost. And, this one was really funny. I remember being, like, a little uncertain concerning this one, because I just wasn't sure if I would like it or not. It really depends when it comes to, like, comedies and stuff like that. Because I like comedy, but I'm also a little critical of comedians, in a way, because I don't really like stand-up comedy for some reason. Most stand-up comedy is, like, it's funny, but it's also a little boring to me. I don't know why. I don't know why it has that weird juxtaposition where I'm like, ha ha ha, but I'm bored. But it just does. So, like, Murderville, to me, I was like, this could go one of two ways. Either this is going to be hilarious, and it's going to be a little more like Whose Line Is It Anyway, and be a little improv like that, or it's going to be a little more similar to, like, stand-up comedy, or it's going to be like one of those prank shows where it's just annoying. I didn't really know which way it was going to go. Turns out it was a little bit more like Whose Line Is It Anyway. I say that, but it's absolutely nothing like Whose Line Is It Anyway. I just want to clarify that. But if you haven't seen Murderville, or heard of it, it's, like, basically there's a bunch of people, some are comedians, who have a script, and there's, like, a storyline that's happening, and each episode, and it's police, it's detectives, and each episode, they invite a celebrity onto the show, but the celebrity is the only one who doesn't have any kind of script. They don't know what's happening, and they need to solve a murder. Sora. I thought that was funny. So they need to solve a murder. So our main character is the police detective. He was once married to, like, the chief or whatever, so, like, his ex-wife is his boss. And he's, like, kind of trying to win her back, but also not, and, like, he's kind of a funny character, but each new episode he gets a new partner, And also his partner, who is Jennifer Aniston, his old partner died, was mysteriously murdered, and so he's trying to solve that cold case. And they just have a picture of Jennifer Aniston on there. I'm like, that's so great. I love that they did that. But yeah, and then there will be a murder, and so like I said, the main actors kind of like know what is happening. They know what to lead, but it's a little bit improv because they have then the celebrity guest who has no idea what is happening. They don't know who the murderer is. They don't know what kind of crime scene they're walking in on. They have no script at all. And so they might be saying certain things that then the actors have to respond to. And so there's a lot of improv in there. And that's the only reason why I say it's a little similar to like Whose Line, based on the humor. It's like you have to kind of think on your feet, and I don't know. It's really funny. So yeah, Murderville was really funny. I felt like it was too short. I wanted so much more of it. Like, this is one of those shows that I would totally binge watch. Like, totally binge watch. Like, all day. It was really funny. And also trying to solve the murders along with them is really fun, too. Because they do a really good job at giving you a bunch of clues and a bunch of different red herrings, too. So, I really like it. Very well done. Super like that show. And then there is I'm Not Okay With This, which also got canceled, and I looked that one up recently for why it got canceled, and it was because of COVID, basically. COVID happened, and then Netflix just didn't have the funds to continue the show. Like, it was going to cost them too much money to continue creating the show, so they were like, screw it, and they canceled it. Which is a shame, because this is so good. And now I really want to read the comic. Although I know how the comic ends. So I did spoil that for myself. But I'm like, they left us on such a big cliffhanger that, like, I'm really disappointed that the show is over now. And, like, I kind of have hopes that maybe someday eventually they'll pick it back up. I mean, the actress would be, and some of the actors too, would be much older, I think, if they did it, like, in a few years. But, like, I don't know, man. I feel like it would be great if they could pick it back up. It would be so good. I'm very interested. But yeah, it's a shame that it's over. But this one is, this girl discovers that she has, like, telekinetic sort of powers. And, yeah, I mean, that's basically it. She discovers that she has telekinetic powers. She can make things explode with her mind. And, she kind of has a little bit of trouble controlling it because it's new. And, like, she's just a teenager. There's a bunch of other stuff that happens. I read about the differences between the comic and the book, and that's how I know how it ends. So, like, the comic has a lot of other stuff that happens in it, but, like, I don't know. I feel like it would just be great if they gave it another season. It'd be so much fun. But yeah, so I'm Not Okay With This is the last one for this particular list. Those were, like, my favorite shows recently and within the last year. They're the ones that I really, really enjoyed, that they kind of stuck with me. And, yeah. That one is off the list now of other things that I need to talk about. So next, I'm going to be talking about my favorite cartoons, which could also be considered in this list of favorite shows. Gravity Falls is the first one on the list, and I absolutely love Gravity Falls. Alex Hirsch is a genius. He just did the story so well, and, like, I love that it takes place in Oregon. I love that it's, like, in a foresty, woodsy area. It's got that cozy feel to it. There's a ton of humor in there, obviously, and, like, there's definitely, like the spooky supernatural kind of weird elements happening. Bill Cipher is my favorite villain, and the only thing I don't like about the show is that Bill Cipher is not in it enough. Also, clearly I'm stuck right here. You can tell I'm like, what am I doing? This one I had a lot of trouble on, and I was, like, getting frustrated because I'm like, what am I supposed to do? What am I doing? You're supposed to look at the weight. I'm a fool. I'm an idiot. It's totally fine. I'll get there eventually. I swear. But yeah, Bill Cipher is, like, one of my favorite villains. Wish he was in there more. Definitely gonna get a tattoo of him. Um, but yeah, there's just like, there's a lot of mystery. There was a lot of like tension that happened in certain spots. This is definitely like a master of slow building of plot, and like kid shows do that sometimes, I think, because with kid shows you have to kind of lure them in, I guess. And like it's a kid show, but it's also not. Like, you as an adult you can totally freaking watch the show. It has a lot of adult themes in it. It has a lot of adult jokes. Like most cartoons, like it's not just for kids, but it's a kid friendly cartoon, you know what I mean? But like there's a lot of character building in it, which I think is great. They plant like a bunch of tiny little clues in different episodes, and so it's like a slow build to the finale, which then is just like the end of the world sort of a thing. And it's like, they do it so well. It's so good. And then the ending made me cry. It made me cry so much. And I won't give it away, but basically I want there to be a second season, and I know that there's not going to be a second season. I'm pretty sure Alex Hirsch has already discussed this in interviews and said like, hey guys, like, thank you for loving the show, but there's not going to be a second season. There's no second season ever. He doesn't have any plans to make a second season at any point. He was like, this is the story that I told, and like it was based on my own childhood being in Oregon sometimes, and like I don't know, I felt like it was just such a good show, and I'm glad that it ended where it did. It definitely feels complete as it is, but I think people like fans of the series want a season 2 because we just want to see what happens next. We just want to follow these characters that we fell in love with and see them happy or succeeding or what have you. You know, we want to see what happens to them next. And I think that's really what we want in a season 2, is like maybe just a mini series or a movie or something like that. It doesn't even have to be a full season. I think that's kind of what we want, is just some kind of continuation to show like, I don't know, these characters still have lives, they're still connected, because at the end everyone kind of goes their separate ways, but like we all want to see them happy and successful. And like the way that it ended was very bittersweet because they all kind of separate, but they're all doing things that they want to be doing, but we want more. You know what I mean? So Gravity Falls, so good. And we all want more. Avatar The Last Airbender and also Korra, Legend of Korra. I'm going to put both of them on this list. Originally it was just Avatar The Last Airbender on this list, but Korra's definitely part of that. I love Korra too. Avatar The Last Airbender has more nostalgia for me because I grew up watching that one. I remember there's this really amazing story I'll tell you guys right now. It was the series finale for Avatar The Last Airbender. They were replaying every single episode on TV, and I like it. I don't even remember how long that was, but it was like the marathon, every single season, every single episode, the whole day, up until the series finale. They were playing. I was madly sick that day, and I was throwing up constantly, and I was with my mom that day. And it was funny. Also, I'm a freaking idiot with this. I don't know why I did it this way. I was not thinking. Anyways. This is so funny to watch. So, I was a little bit delirious by the time the series finale happened. And I was super sick still, throwing up. I had to take a Pepto-Bismol to try and ease my stomach, but they were out of the liquid, so I got tablets, and like mid chewing them. Also, this is gross, so if you are eating food, don't eat food right now during the story. You might be able to see where this is going if I've told you that I've been throwing up the whole day. So yeah, I'd been throwing up the whole day. I ate some Pepto-Bismol tablets, and immediately in the middle of throwing them up, or of chewing them, I threw them up into the trash can that I had on me. But then I was so delirious and so, like, out of my head that I, like, laughed because it was Pepto-Bismol pink. My barf was Pepto-Bismol pink. And for some reason, that was just hilarious. And I think that one happened, actually, maybe during the cactus juice episode. I can't quite remember. It's a very long time ago. But there you go. So, really great nostalgic feels for that. You're welcome to my embarrassing story. It's not really that embarrassing. I was a kid, whatever. But yeah, this one's like one of those comfort series for me. I have all of the seasons, even Korra. I think I actually have doubles because I remember asking for Christmas for, like, Avatar: The Last Airbender, and my parents didn't really know what to get for me, so, like, they got me 2 different seasons, and then years later, I think I asked for it again, but I was like, okay, but when I say this, I don't mean just, like, 1 season or 2. I want the whole freaking set. Give me the whole thing. And so one of my parents gave me the whole thing. And so now I just have copies. I have, like, 2 seasons doubles, basically. And I have Korra. So, I really need to watch them more. I don't really watch anything anymore these days because I've just been too stressed to actually relax. You know what I mean? That might sound weird, but I'm like so stressed that I can't relax. And so I haven't really been watching anything. I haven't really been playing any games except for the channel, which I'm totally fine with doing that, but, like, also not. And same thing with reading. I haven't been reading. I feel like I haven't been doing anything, not even productive, but in my head it would be productive for me to be doing these things that I enjoy. I haven't been doing any of that. Anyways, Avatar: The Last Airbender, super great. I loved Korra. Korra for me was kind of a slow build into loving it, though, because season 1, I remember being really frustrated the first time I watched it because I was like, this is nothing. I also had high expectations, so I think that was why I was very disappointed. Is in my head, I was like, it's going to be just like Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like, it's going to have the same kind of beats, maybe, but with a different avatar, and, like, obviously it's going to be different, but it'll be different in, like, a similar way. It's not at all how it went. So I remember being really frustrated with season 1 because it felt to me like they were catering to, like, romance teen series kinds of things, because it was just, like, so it just had, like, that teenage romance angst that, like, I wasn't expecting from Avatar. I was expecting something a little more from them, a little deeper. Like, romance is fine, but if you're gonna do romance, you want to do, like, Sokka and Suki romance, or Sokka and Yue romance, or Katara and Aang romance, like, that kind of thing. And the romance that they had in there, I was like, this is just toxic, and, like, they don't fit well together, and, like, I like these characters, but I don't like them together. Like, I don't understand why they're doing this. It really threw me for a loop, so I really didn't like it. But then, like, as each season went on, it progressively got better and better and better. It just got so good until the very end. And there's a lot with the trauma too. Like, she deals with so much trauma, and, like, the way that it ends with the handhold, and I was just like, oh, so good, so good. Oh my god. Like, it's definitely one of my favorite series now. Definitely the second time through watching it, knowing what I knew, I was like, okay, I can appreciate what they were doing in season 1 and season 2 and season 3 now. I can appreciate all of those little things that annoyed me the first time because I just didn't get it yet. But, like, with the whole picture in mind, I was like, this all makes so much sense now, and I absolutely love every single thing that before I freaking hated. It was literally just because I didn't understand where they were going with it, and that was why I was getting frustrated with it, because it wasn't what I expected, and I didn't see why they were doing what they were doing. But by the end of it, rewatching it all with a new lens, I was like, yes, perfect, spot on, absolutely fantastic series, love the series. So yeah, Korra's in there too. Steven Universe. I will talk more about Steven Universe in another video, because I absolutely love Steven Universe, but I have questions, and so that's what the video is going to be about, my questions. This one is a comfort series, but also not. Like, if you haven't seen Steven Universe, please go watch it. It's a long series, but it's so good. It's so good. All the feels, oh my god. It's so wonderful and so heartbreaking, and I both love and hate it, because the main series, the 5 seasons, start off kind of, like, lighthearted, and they deal with a lot of heavier topics, and they just deal with a lot of topics, which I think is great. And this is another one of those shows where it's like it's a kid show, quote unquote, but like they have very adult themes in there, and with the way that they talk about how to deal with them and like your emotions and accepting people and differences and like all these different things, it's just so good. There's so much good in this series, and like it's really heartbreaking because in the main series, no matter what happens, like Steven might have bad feelings, but they're not bad. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of people who've been traumatized, I am one of them, we have a hard time feeling our feelings. We try and apply logic to our feelings and thought to our feelings, and we don't just let ourselves feel. And so there's a lot of shame that comes with feeling sometimes. I'm still struggling with it. I expressed a feeling that could be deemed as negative or bad, and then I feel like a bad person, you know? So like I feel like I'm being mean for expressing my emotion, and it's not even like I'm doing it in a bad or toxic or harmful way, but it feels that way because that's what I had been taught. Anyways, Steven doesn't really do that. He just lets himself feel, and it's totally fine. And like he just like seems so light and hopeful even in the dark times. And so for me, I was like, man, I wish I could be like Steven. Like this is so comforting to me and oddly validating that there's this kid who is somehow so much smarter than me, like so much more emotionally smarter than me. And like, I don't know, Steven was just like this bright light, and he was just a wonderful kid, and I absolutely love it. And then you get to the movie, which is like, okay, but you can start seeing Steven unraveling a little tiny bit in the movie, but then you get to Future. And Future was the most depressing season of them all. And like, I kind of understand why. Because if you watch the whole thing, he goes through a lot of traumatic stuff at a very young age, and for years throughout very young age. And so it makes sense that now he has like unresolved trauma. And because of that, it's also very relatable, because I feel like a lot of us that's happened to. A lot of us have a lot of unresolved trauma that we experienced when we were children. And like, so it was still incredibly relatable, but in like the best but worst way, because I really felt for Steven. I was like, dude, I know exactly what you're going through right now. Not nearly exactly, I guess, because you're going through like with gems and stuff, but like, but I get it. I get what you're feeling. I understand your emotions. I understand the pain that you're feeling. Like, I get it. I totally get it. But it was incredibly heartbreaking to watch Future, because I hated seeing Steven go through what he went through. I absolutely hated seeing this kid that had so much hope and so much light in him become someone who was so hurt and angry and lonely and traumatized. Like, I absolutely hated seeing that happen to him. And so Future was very painful to watch, in a way. And it was still a very, very good season, and it still had a lot to offer in terms of like dealing with things and experiencing things and showing what trauma can look like and what grief can look like and what anger can look like and all of that stuff. But like, it just didn't have the same like tone to it that the rest of the series had before then. So I have gripes about it because of that, but I absolutely love the entire series. Absolutely love the entire series. Super good. So even though Future was like really dark and a little depressing, and it had a very bittersweet, open-ended ending, I still really loved it, and I highly recommend this show to literally everyone. It's such a good watch. Even knowing that it gets a little dark towards the end, it's so good. It's so good. Please watch it if you haven't seen it. It's not just a kid's show, I swear to you. Like, cartoons are so underrated. Cartoons, animation, they're so amazing. They can tell stories like human, real-life people cannot sometimes. And, like, it's so good. So please just watch Steven Universe. It is so good. It touches on so many subjects, and it's really funny. It's really cute. It's, like, serious, but also not. Like, it's so good. Over the Garden Wall, it's cozy, it's spooky, it's autumnal, it's great. It's a very short series. I watch this one throughout the year, but particularly, like, on Halloween, I'll watch this. If I don't feel like watching any movies, I'll just watch the entire series because it's very short. Like I said, you can finish it in, like, 3 or 4 hours, I want to say. But yeah, super cozy. It's got Elijah Wood in it, so it's great. And yeah, like, I love the soundtrack. I really want to get the vinyl for it someday because I think that would be great. And even though I would love it if they made a second season, because I still have some questions, they don't really need to make a second season. Like, it's good as it is. But it's one of those things where it's like, I still have some questions, and I love these characters and this story and this world so much that I want more, and that's the only reason why I want a second season. But otherwise, it doesn't need a second season. It really doesn't. I just want one. So there's that. Rilakkuma and Kauru. This one's not really a cartoon, but it is an animation. And Rilakkuma is, like, one of my favorites. I'm gonna get a tattoo of him someday. But this one is, like, a cute and sweet little, like, slice of life kind of episodic story with Kauru and Rilakkuma. And, like, she's going through some stuff as an adult, and it's very relatable because of that. And then you have Rilakkuma, who's, like, her friend. There's also other little cute buddies, and I don't know, man. It's just really cute. It's really short, super adorable, a little relatable, like an adorable little slice of life animated little series. It's just fun. It's cute. And then Aggretsuko is the last one, which is another series that I haven't finished watching yet. But I definitely told my boyfriend at the time when it came out that I was like, that's me. I am Retsuko. Because she's, like, a little tiny, adorable, angry red panda that, like she's really cute and sweet on the outside, and she fits with the societal norms and standards and everything, but on the inside she's raging. And I was like, that's totally me. That's absolutely me. That's absolutely me. So yeah, but I need to finish. I've only seen season 1. I haven't seen season 2 yet. I don't even know if there's a season 3, but I think there is. But yeah, I haven't seen it yet. Ooh, an Aztecian door. So yeah, Aggretsuko is the last one on my list. Highly recommend that one too. It's really awesome. I love screaming music also, so I was just like, yes, she is me. I am her. I love this. But yeah, that was my list of favorite shows and favorite cartoons. Thank you guys so much for joining, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!